checked earlier or what? Why didn't we check this earlier if it was working or not? But you should check, no? I mean, never assume that it'll work here. Hello and welcome to the special India Hangout brought to you by Boom News along with Sea Water. The question we're asking today is what lies ahead for the Congress, or more importantly, is this Delhi poll of 2015 more about the Congress than any other party? There are 4 points that we're looking at today. First is we're going to be recapping the polls that have been emerging in the last 3 or 4 months along with Yashwant Deshmukh of Sea Water, and he's joining us shortly. We're also posing the other question, is there a curious case of the Congress mirror? And we'll explain that in a bit. Finally, or rather, final before the last, we're saying which way is the current voter mood swinging, and finally, what can Congress do in this situation, and what does history tell us? Also joining us is Congress spokesperson Sanjay Jha. Sanjay, we're going to go over the data in a little bit, but tell us your sense before we start off. How is Congress poised at this point ahead of the Delhi elections?
See, Govind, the reality is that we slipped quite extraordinarily in the last elections. Not just in terms of seats, but also in terms of vote share. The vote share was not, well, perhaps as dramatic, but in terms of seats, we came down to single-digit numbers. So that was obviously a huge disappointment. Given the fact that it's now been almost a year since the last elections were contested, we do hope that people have seen through the two alternatives of the BJP and AAP more closely. AAP, because I think they really, to use the political term, bhagoda, they chickened away from a contest and should have actually tried to run the government when we supported them. So to that extent, that is something that I'm sure the people of Delhi will factor in when they vote. As far as the BJP is concerned, I think it's a case of a lot of rhetoric at the center. Achhe din are far from a reality. The economy is at the moment, if not in the doldrums, is definitely not moved ahead at all. And you have some serious issues that the country is confronting. So I think end of day, the people of Delhi will probably have to factor in the 15 years under the Sheila Dikshit government. There was a lot of progress. I think Delhi transformed as a city-state remarkably under the Congress government over 3 successive election victories. And I do think that there ought to be a sense of nostalgia, and the Congress will make a very aggressive pitch, not to be treated as a party that lagged behind at the 3rd position, but can occupy crucial center stage once the elections are over.
Right. So we're going to recap the polls, like I said, in a moment with Yashwant as soon as he joins us. But if you were to put it down in bullet point form, Sanjay, what are the 3 or 4 key determinants or factors going into these elections viewed from a Congress point of view?
Well, primarily number 1 is the fact
that I'm talking about domestic. I'm talking about factors to do with Delhi specifically as opposed to the nation.
I get it. I think primarily the fact that in Delhi, the government of Sheila Dikshit took a lot of unwarranted flack for some incidents that were beyond their control. Number two, the fact that the government independently was outstanding, but got a lot of negative criticism because of the perception challenges that the UPA had. I think that's a reality we can't ignore. The third, that Sheila Dikshit really led a very, very capable government. There were lots of, I think, Delhi infrastructure wise in particular had phenomenal progress. If you look at some of the comparable indices of like per capita income, etc., education, health, I think Delhi was far ahead of the rest of the pack. Also, we got a lot of power stability into Delhi. I think the entire management of Delhi during the time of Sheila Dikshitji's regime was outstanding. I think we would like to go back to this election on the premise of what we did, although I think we got rejected on that last year. But I think facts don't cease to exist because 1 year has gone by. And lastly, I think as any political adversary will do, we would like to say that your alternatives in both BJP and AAP are frankly not good for Delhi.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, Sanjay, just hold on for a moment, or a few moments rather. Yashwant, so I was just getting a background from Sanjay. What is Congress going in with? And he spoke about the Sheila Dikshit government and what Delhi has seen and accomplished in that period, particularly both on the physical and the social infrastructure side. Let's understand from a data point of view. I mean, we've and specifically the polls that you and other pollsters have been doing in the last 3 or 4 months. What are they telling us today, and what has changed between, let's say, Jan 2014 and Jan 2015?
The graphics, if you look at the graphics of not only the surveys that we have conducted, but all the surveys, I will come down to that point, that how the vote composition of the Aam Aadmi Party has changed. And the party which was actually contesting for the anti-Congress vote last year is right now contesting for the anti-BJP vote. That's a paradigm change as far as the Aam Aadmi Party's vote composition is concerned. I could not hear what Sanjay had to say, but let me say this: that last year when the elections were happening, I presume and I believe, I won't say I presume, I believe that had it not been the incumbency of the UPA central government, I believe that Sheila Dikshit would have pulled it off last year again. She had to pay the price of the anti-incumbency or the unpopularity, if I may say, of the central government rather than the unpopularity of her government. She was popular; her ratings were still high after 3 terms, which is not a joke to start with. Even after everything that could go wrong, that went wrong with the Congress, she pulled off 25% vote, which is quite a credible performance, I would say. No other chief minister, I mean, like that can say about this kind of vote share and that kind of incumbency in after 15 years of rule. Having said that, what we witnessed last year was a verdict which went against primarily the Congress rule of center and state together, more of a center rather than the state, and that anti-Congress sentiment got split between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party. Now the key question is, if the Aam Aadmi Party's vote share or the composition of the vote, has it remained the same over the last 1 year? The answer is a no, big no. There has been a sea change as far as Aam Aadmi Party's support base is concerned, and this is what is very interesting. Last year, while they were picking up the anti-Congress vote and contesting on an anti-Congress platform and competing with the BJP, this year they are thoroughly contesting on the anti-BJP platform and competing with the Congress to share to gobble up the majority of the votes in that department. So how does this? Do we have any empirical evidence to prove that? That's a question. And I believe that yes, we have an empirical evidence. The results of the last Lok Sabha elections already pointed out that the anti-BJP votes, which felt that they could not, Congress was not in a position to defeat the BJP in Delhi, they polarized further in favor of Aam Aadmi Party. And the Congress vote bank from the last Vidhan Sabha election in December to May Lok Sabha election actually went down by 10% votes. And the Aam Aadmi Party vote share went up against the BJP. BJP went up quite remarkably very high upswing, but that upswing came largely from the others. And this is what the trend has been consolidating in the last 6 months after the May general elections. If you look at the BJP vote share graphic, I would like to pull up the BJP vote share graphic first. You will figure out that in the last 3 months, all the polls of all the 5-6 channels and agencies that came out, you'll figure out that BJP's vote share, they have been showing ranging from 40% to 45% approximately. Within this range, it has been static. But when you look at the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party vote share, I will come down to that later. But look at right now on your screen, you can see the Congress and Aam Aadmi Party graph. This is very remarkable because here the line of the Congress and the lines of the Aam Aadmi Party are in a very textbook mirror graphics kind of scenario, where you can actually see as if you can fold the graph in between and you can see it is almost copying each other.
Yeah.
So is the empirical evidence that the moment the Congress picks up, the graph comes down. The moment Aam Aadmi picks up, the Congress graph comes down. While in the case of the BJP, this kind of a scene, first of all, is static between the 40 to 45% range, and that interchangeability of 4-5% vote is coming from the others. So there are two.
Quick question here, Yashwant. What's the reason behind that spike that you see in the second half of December 2014, if any?
The spike could be attributed to various things. You see, let's give the due what Aam Aadmi Party and Kejriwal has, that they started the campaign big time on offensive. They have been leading the campaign so far, while the Congress and BJP are still not really started the campaign. Aam Aadmi Party has hit the ground. They have declared all the candidates. They have been taking on the rallies. They are on the poster war, and everywhere they are on it. So one of the reasons of the spike of the Aam Aadmi Party vote could be because of the reason that Aam Aadmi Party votes are going up because of their campaign has started, and Congress campaign hasn't yet started. Not even the tickets have been announced. It hasn't started yet. So that is could be the one reason. But what is typical of this graph in the last all the polls that are showing is that the moment Aam Aadmi vote goes up, the Congress vote goes down. The moment Congress vote goes up, the Aam Aadmi Party vote goes down, and that has largely to do with the socio-economic profile of the vote base or the support base that has been traditionally a Congress vote. Minorities, the low-income group, the Dalits, which have been the core vote bank of the Congress all these years.
Right.
Now,
and that's really the theme that we were going to talk about, which is, which way is the current voter mood swinging? So you're really saying that the proportion or the sample that we should be looking at is the non-BJP sample rather than the overall sample when you want to try and assess the swing of the voter. Am I correct?
So you have to treat you cannot compare apple with oranges to start with. You have to take into account which party has been polling, what kind of core support basis the party has been enjoying, and where the votes are coming from. For example, when you look into the Aam Aadmi Party votes in 2013 elections, you will figure out that big composition of that vote was coming from the urban middle class votes. The votes which were largely anti-Congress, anti-incumbency sentiment, anti-Congress at that point of time, they went to Aam Aadmi Party, and Aam Aadmi Party's support base was largely made up of the middle class vote. As on today, that support base is largely made up of the low-income group rather than the middle class vote group. Last year, the composition had to do a lot of OBC and the upper caste vote as far as Aam Aadmi Party is concerned. This year, a big number of their composition is a lot of the Dalit votes and the minorities. So that is a big change. That is a big change as far as the composition of the Aam Aadmi Party vote bank is concerned.
Right. Okay. So Sanjay, now let me come back to you now. So this is the background, right? You've heard about the mirror effect that if AAP, for instance, goes up, then Congress goes down. If Congress goes down, up goes up. But what Yashwant is saying is also that this poll, I guess this could have been said for earlier polls, is more about Congress than any other party, because this is where we are trying to see what could actually happen and which way voters could swing. What's your sense? I mean, is there a sort of strategy which is now focused on this part of the sample or this slice of the sample, or is it an overall strategy which is aiming at all voters, including sort of BJP? Or walk us through how it looks from your point of view.
Completely. When he says that, end of day, if you look at the Congress performance, and I said that earlier as well, the fact that we dipped in Delhi from 40 odd seats to 8, and even in vote share went down to close to 25%, I think that would not have happened had it been an independent evaluation by the voter on the performance of the Delhi government. Now, Delhi happens to be the capital. You are in the state government, and there's a huge role of the center, not just in terms of the perception of the center across the country, but also because end of day, there is the issue of the police, which is with the Home Ministry and not with the Delhi state government. So the Nirbhaya incident, for example, had an extremely negative repercussion on the electoral fortunes of the Sheila Dikshit's government. So that's a reality, and we have to accept it. There is also a positive. It also works on the downside. Now, I think as far as we are concerned, there is one fact that is established beyond doubt. We would not have won 3 elections in a row if the people of Delhi had not felt that the government was performing. Now, you can say that the first time people voted for the Sheila Dikshit's government on hope, but the second and third victories were clearly based on performance. And although there was a minor dip in both votes and seat share, essentially they remained very strong and consistent. So if you look at Congress at the moment, over 15 years, till the last year, then you have had AAP coming in and really taking away our votes, essentially. The fact of the matter is that the Congress had a deep entrenched goodwill across households in Delhi and across all the various sections that Yashwant talked about. Now, I'm not going to get into the mechanics of the various vote constituencies here, but broadly, Congress has always been across multiple social economic platforms. And that is evident from the kind of results we had over 15 years. And even as we dipped, I think the significant erosion of the Congress vote was with this defined urban middle class, which is deemed to have been more aspirational and was disappointed with the growth rates in Delhi, in India overall, and the fact that certain incidents that happened in Delhi made Deshmukh extremely ill-equipped to form the next government. But I think when I look at it today, Govind and Yashwant yourself as well, the Congress has a deep base. There is a minimum threshold support that we have even today all over the country, no matter whether we have 44 seats in Lok Sabha or the fact that we may not have done well in certain state elections. I think the challenge for us will be in terms of, number one, looking at not just the 8 seats we won, but the number of seats where we were second, or the number of places where the difference between the first and third was fairly narrow. Because in a tripartite contest, I think there are many seats that change hands where, the politics being a zero-sum game, your loss is somebody else's gain. So I think it would be important for us as a party to choose candidates with care, because end of day, bottom line, if you look at the BJP's vote share, it hasn't really gone up significantly beyond the mid-30 levels. Now, if that, and forget the Lok Sabha, I think the Lok Sabha is an extreme aberration, and we can't link it to the state elections. So I do feel it's not just about AAP and Congress. I think the BJP will witness a definite erosion, and the minorities is not the only section. I think Dalits are worried. I think the middle class will have seen by now how actually, if you look at issues of rape, which was a big issue in the last elections, the number of incidents have actually gone up in Delhi over the last 1 year, and especially over the last 7-8 months that the BJP has been there. President's rule is effectively Union Home Ministry running it. So I think there are larger issues in terms of jobs. Inflation is down. It's got nothing to do with the government. So I think today, Mr. Modi is the only one they are betting on because of his perception of being, a leader who can deliver the goods, which too is at the moment under serious scrutiny, because end of day, I think the people of Delhi is a very enlightened electorate. There are migrants, there are people who come to Delhi with hope and dreams. And the local population, we all know, is extremely, not just aspirational, but have very, very high expectations from government delivery. So I do think Congress will be a significant player. Now, I'm not going to make a tall and empty boast, Govind, that we're going to get the maximum number of seats and all that. That is still up in the air. But I can tell you that it's going to be a competitive election, not just between AAP and Congress fighting for anti-BJP votes, but I think BJP will witness a significant erosion going forward.
Right. Okay. So let's look at let's come to the sort of last section of today's thing. We said that we would say, what could a Congress, since today's episode is really about saying that why this Delhi poll is more about the Congress than any other party. What could the Congress do? And in a hypothetical or not so hypothetical situation, what does history tell us? Yashwant, back to you on this.
Well, I totally agree with Sanjay on the most of the points actually. That the Congress support base has to be concretized if they wish to take this right on the track. And the only thing is that that support bases generally don't come into a square; they are coming into a pyramid, where you have the base and then something which is the beginning or tipping edge, as we call it, which makes you win the elections. One big concern probably for Congress would be the chief ministerial candidate. Which is a big concern even for the BJP, I would say, even though they are trying to fill up the vacuum with whatsoever whichever way they can with Narendra Modi's picture on the wall. But the fact remains that Mr. Modi is Prime Minister of the country, and the elections are going to happen for to elect a government in Delhi and the chief ministerial candidate. And with Sheila Dikshit not in the picture, I think that's the biggest asset as far as the leadership was concerned in Delhi for the Congress. If the Congress comes up with a better, an alternative, an aggressive one, a rooted one, that would be probably helpful to the Congress. And one thing that Sanjay mentioned, and I kind of totally agree on that, is the number of seats where the Congress candidates lost by a very thin margin. And especially,
as you were pointing out earlier,
15 years, Govind, there have been, I believe that there are at least a dozen odd MLAs of the Congress who lost the election last time, who are very popular in their segments, but somehow because of the anti-incumbency, somehow, as we call it, ki hawa chal gayi, or us hawa wale election mein, there are plenty of good candidates who lose the election. I mean, mention, for example, Dr. Walia. I mean, a candidate like Dr. Walia, who is so popular and people in his constituency love him, and there are many more like him. That would be very interesting, whether they can pull up the string and they can start campaigning on their own. And why I'm saying on their own is that these are the candidates who have a winning capacity as an individual. To have the base or to have a party like Congress on their side is an add-on for them, but they are winning candidates on their own in their individual capacity. It's okay, they lost the election a year back, but that doesn't mean that they lost the grip on their constituency and the 1 year long work, and they have not left the constituency.
You're saying that the parts look good. I mean, even if it is not adding up to a sum. If I got you right, Yashwant.
Yeah, of course, yes. There are, as I said, that it's a pyramid. There are things which are on the base. So these candidates, for them, the base of the pyramid is their personal popularity. And then the party votes, party cadre, and the party leadership adds on to the winning tip. So I agree on that point with Sanjay that these are the assets of the Congress which Congress should play on, harp on. But at the same time,
and I guess that's the big question. I mean, to what extent will the Congress be able to do that? Sanjay, as we come to close, what's the chief ministerial strategy going to be? So I think the parts look good, at least if we were to pick up from our discussion so far for the Congress. But the important thing is there going to be an engine in front of the train?
No, I completely agree with both, Govind, both you and Yashwant. You see, for the Congress, the way I look upon it, and these are some of the things that, we'll have to quickly take a call on, we got to do something different. When you face some electoral, adverse results, you got to see the political environment do something different. Clearly, I agree with Yashwant there that, if you have a chief ministerial candidate, the first thing you do, you send out a clear message that you are not just in the fray as a political player, but you are ambitious enough to believe you can form the government. So I think that belief is a very critical trigger at this point. And we ought to go the whole, 9 yards at this, where this is concerned. But the second point is also vital. campaigning has to be, these are small constituencies, and especially because we know that there were many tall leaders in the Congress party who lost the elections. Now, if everyone can go down, really campaign, stick and park overnight in the cold in these colonies and all over the place, send out a message that, listen, Delhi deserves better than what it has had over the last year. Over the 15 years, we did many things right. We may have made mistakes. I think we need to be humble enough to accept the fact that it's not as if it was a complete earlier whatever. So I think if we can somehow go back and win that trust factor which went missing for a while, not necessarily the people of Delhi simply who lost, but with the general overall of negativism that that frankly consumed the UPA too, I think we'll be able to turn the tide. So for us, leadership, putting up a candidate, and I think getting down to grassroots aggressive campaigning, just like AAP is doing. BJP is probably not going to do that. They will rely more on the whirlwind of advertising, huge PR, and Mr. Modi, etc., etc. So I think it will be for the Congress party to go back to square one and do what it does well: good, solid, streetwide campaigning and politics.
Right, and I mean, this actually is sort of crying for a cricketing analogy, which I don't have, unfortunately. Ayaz Memon, who ought to have been with us here, is not, but he's going to be here for the next episode. Thanks very much for that, Sanjay. Yashwant, last word from you. I mean, we've talked about 4 things that we started out from. We said, what is the, what are the polls saying, and what can we understand from that? We talked about the interesting mirror effect that the polls so far have shown, particularly between the Congress and AAP and the others and BJP. We also talked about the mood swing, and we said, okay, how is the current mood? What's the current mood of the voter? In which way is it likely to swing, or is it swinging? And of course, finally, as we conclude, what could the Congress do in a situation like this? There are obviously there is a need, or a crying need, on all parties, or at least both parties, BJP as well as Congress, for a clear leadership role there. That hopefully the Delhi will see well in time, but it's really a question of whether all those parts add up to a sum that's beneficial to someone. Yashwant?
Well, totally agree with you on that. Basically, as Sanjay summed up, that they have to pick up a strong chief ministerial candidate to give the assurance to the people that they are not just battle ready, but they are in the race to form the government with full confidence, and that's where their starting point is, along with their strong local leaders who have been working really hard on the ground. Whether they can win their constituency back, a lot will depend on that. Coming back to the point where we started this show about the vote share of Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress and their interchangeability in between. And this is very interesting because as we discussed in the last show, Delhi election is not just a glorified municipality election. No, it is not. I mean, those who say that, I disagree with them, because Delhi is a cosmopolitan place, and it gives a larger than big enough messages across India. So the consolidation of the anti-Congress or the anti-BJP vote, what happens is Delhi will be very keenly observed by everybody across India and the media as well. So a lot is on the stake. And BJP also is facing the same leadership problem of at the local level. They are unable to send Vardhan back on the scene, and no other leader as such from the BJP is fitting up the bill, just like no other Congress leader is fitting up the bill shoes of vacuum that Sheila Dikshit has left. Similarly, whatever vacuum that Harshvardhan has left in Delhi, no other BJP leader is filling up that vacuum. So that is giving certainly at the starting point, giving up quite a substantial, I would say, advantage to Arvind Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party. But they have started the campaign. Congress and BJP are yet to start the campaign at that level. And the moment they pick up, it will remain to be seen whether this vote composition changes once again. Can the Aam Aadmi Party dent BJP on the middle class vote? Can the Congress take back a little bit of their core vote of the Dalit and the minorities from Aam Aadmi Party? Is the BJP vote going to come down, or is it going to consolidate further on the anti-Aam Aadmi Party vote bank? All these things will start. This is the starting point. What advantage Arvind Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party are definitely enjoying at this point of time is largely attributed to the fact that they have started the campaign pretty aggressively and pretty nice campaign, I would say, as a political analyst. And Aam Aadmi Party's campaign has to be matched up inch by inch by the Congress and the BJP if they want to really catch up in this race, and
Right. So
BJP
AAP is
enjoy.
off the block, and I guess as you're saying, Yashwant, they have a definite advantage there. And really, it's now for the other two parties to catch up.
Exactly, that's what I'm
Right.
trying to say, that Aam Aadmi Party at this point of time is definitely looking as an advantage scenario.
Right. It would not be a big one, but it is definitely an advantage, and surely it helps in the perception battle, particularly when you're fighting for votes and fighting to come back. That's all we have time for in this edition of the 2015 Delhi Election Tracker. We're going to be back on Monday at 4 p.m., where we will talk about the composition of votes in Delhi and some of the very interesting insights and mysteries in some ways that those numbers might actually reveal, thanks to C Voter, of course. Thank you very much, folks, for joining us. See you next week.